What is the connection between art and spirituality? Is there really a connection? Well, every art and spirituality are connected. We will look at it in a much deeper sense in this video. And if you want to make your art more impressive and expressive, then if you can get those basic elements right, then you are really successful in making your art very expressive to the people who are watching. Okay, so let's get straight to it. Hi, my name is Sofia and I am an artist. I would love to teach people on how to monetize their art and also how to organize their house and workspace in such a way that you can make it much energetic and more achievable towards your goal. It's using feng shui techniques on how to use your paintings and position them so right so that you can achieve your goals that way. So let's get straight to today's topic. Is art and spirituality any way connected? Answer is yes, definitely yes. Art does not come just because you think very logically. Of course, your logical thinking can give you certain techniques and how to approach it, but the inspiration of how you do it is really not something that comes from your logical mind. There are a lot of study that has been done when people have been very creative. When we talk about, let's say, Leonardo da Vinci, he was an artist who could make science, engineering, art, and everything work together. And if I think about, was he a normal person? It sometimes makes me think maybe he's from a totally different world, right? The kind of work that he has given to this world, to us, for us to even explore and think about, is completely out of mind. And for that time when they had generated this art piece, it should have been a renaissance painting. That's exactly what we call them, right? It's completely a new approach to it. And every master that we know right now are people who actually brought in that new twist to art itself. Now, what we think about an expressive painting, the moment you look at an art and you think it is very expressive or very impressive, it just gives you the feel of love, the feel of ego, the feel of anger, or the anything that the artist might be expressing through the painting. These are something which is within, but sometimes it so happens that they start getting the artists start getting these inspirations from high above, if I could call that way. Now, why I do say that is because when you are deeply connected to yourself, when you are really you, not influenced by any of the external situations that is on the earth. Of course, we have imbibed a lot of things from the earth, and when you are really into that, unified state, which we call yoga, or when we call it as a trance, or whatever you can call it, when you are like unified, then definitely the outcome of it is going to be much, much, much exponential than what we can expect. Okay, so what we are going to look into it is that now I actually saw a particular video from this person called Hans Williams. He also speaks about how art and spirituality are related. I was actually inspired by that as well because, in a way, what he says is also similar to what I was thinking about. And I found that, yes, that's exactly what I would also feel so. But today, I want to get into much deeper sense of it in the sense the basic elements of a painting. How is that really connected with the basic existential elements? Okay, so without giving you much confusion, let me show you what it is. Okay, so the five components that can make an art look very elegant and very impressive and very harmonious to our eyes are composition, shapes, values, colors, and space. Now, how can we correlate this to the five elements of existence? Okay, so that's a very interesting twist. So, with that, here is how I look at it. Okay, so composition is something that I look at as earth, shapes as water, values as fire, color as air, and space as space itself. Now, why I wanted to tell you this is because when we talk about composition, right? So we are talking about how your painting is composed, especially the location in which it is placed, right? So when we are talking about a composition, we wanted to tell where your focus element should be placed. Let's say on earth you wanted to look at a mountain, and the mountain is actually placed on your left side or on your right side. Based upon the focus of your eyes, you can really tell that this particular painting will look good because this element is in this place, right? And most of us use the one third principle, or we call it as a golden ratio to be more precise, so that your composition looks much elegant. If you look at nature, every thing that is produced in nature follows the golden principle. And that's exactly why the composition is kind of very close related to the element earth. Okay, so that's how I look at it. The next one, what we saw is shapes. And shapes, I would relate it to water because let's say a shape can be a fluid or very solid, or it could really be more like a steamy thing. And this gives me a feel of existence of the water element. When we look at rain, sometimes it's just splattering over us, and it gives you the real joy of expressing your existence with the element water and the earth, right? So, this is the joy that earth and water can bring together. So, when we talk about the fluidity with the composition itself, then it gives you this element of joy, right? So that's the kind of expression that we want to bring in our art. So basically, if you can look at art in this sense, when we talk about fluidity, we look at liquid. So shapes can take, let's say, if it's a triangle or a square or whatever shape, or like a droplet, right? When we put water into any kind of shape, it can retain that particular shape. So water is more fluid, and that's exactly what we want to express in our paintings as well. So when we paint, the color itself is more fluid, but we can define it in that particular shape that we want. That's very close to water. Okay, and if you look at the paint itself, it's composed of earth elements, right? So somehow the composition of paint itself and the way the paint works is related to earth and water. The third element is values, and values I would like to relate it to fire. Now, you might be wondering why values are related to fire. Now, when we say it's a cool value, what color do you relate to that? Blue. And when you say it is hot, what value do you relate it to that? Red. So when we talk about values, we are talking about the kind of existence of the temperature. Okay, so that's exactly the fire comes with. When we say cool, the blue flame is usually cool, considered to be one kind of temperature, but we consider blue to be cooler. And as the shade of, or the value of the red changes, the value of blue changes, we say the temperature has changed, right? So we can take see, sometimes fire can be cold. There is science which says there's a cool fire and a hot fire as well. You can do a small research on the net to find out this particular information. It's quite interesting. So when we look at values, we are talking about the fire itself. Another twist to values is when we say values, when we talk about value systems of humans, we have values, and those values are the fire that drive us to do something, right? So when somebody is asking you to requests you to do a kind of favor or some activity, you always align it towards your values and you say, okay, it is aligning to my values, so I will do it. Otherwise, I don't really want to do it, or I don't like doing it. If even if you have to do it and if you don't like it, you really know you don't like it, right? So that's the nature of our existence. Value and the fire are really correlating with each other. So that's one way of looking at it. Now, the fourth element, the fourth component is colors, and colors is related to air. Why colors is related to air? Let's say the quality of air changes in the atmosphere, it changes the color. Without air, it's either totally black or totally white. Sometimes white also does. Let's say the outer space is colorless because there is no air, there's no atmosphere. Now, the air and the color are really synonymous because, let's say, in sunset, the colors themselves are so beautiful because of the quality of the air. Let's say the air was very dusty and very contaminated. Okay, it is more reddish and the sunset looks even more beautiful, right? Sometimes the sunset is so beautiful because you have a very dusty air. And if you have a very clear air, you can see it more clearly, the vividness of that sun itself, but the atmosphere's color is not visible, right? So, most of the time, the color is an effect of the air and the quality of air around it. So, that's exactly why I would like to relate colors to air. Now, the fifth point is about space. Of course, the space is related to the space element itself, and that's because, let's say, if you don't create a space in your painting, your eyes, the eyes of the viewer is going all over the place, and without a space, you don't have a chance to perceive what is existing. Okay, so in that sense, when the space of your painting is making you do things, it's giving you an option to create things, it also gives you the space to dissolve it, right? So, exactly how the space in our existence is something which we have not known. So, most of the space around which is not known, we consider it as the space element because there's a lot of potential that can come out of it. A blank canvas is a space where anything can come out of it. And in your painting itself, if you can create a space where a person can view it and can put his own imagination as to what could be in that position, it would make your painting more interactive and more engaging for the audience. Yeah. So these are the things that I really thought about it. And when I said, okay, the composition of a painting are these five, but then what is that? It is about the five components of a painting that's related to the spirituality itself. And when you're talking about spirituality, we're not talking about just some higher thing that's coming into you, but the very existential reality that we can correlate with it. Yeah. Hope this particular video was an eye opener towards how things can be perceived in a way to make your painting much better and effective for your living to be enhanced. Yeah, let's be more creative using these relations such that whenever we are using those components in our painting, it gives us a sense that we are very much connected to the nature and we are really spiritual beings. And don't forget to click the link below and get your free copy of How to Sell Your Art Online with 6 simple steps. Okay, so just do that, and that will give you an idea of how to go about selling your paintings. And yes, please subscribe and like my videos, so that will give me an inspiration to create more videos for you. Thank you, and until next time, this is Sofia signing off.